Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Locknetics number 740. This is an emergency break glass door release is what it is. This is one in a series of 3 such items from Locknetics or Schlage Electronics. The 740 is the most common model. It literally has just a hammer, a break glass, and then a button that you push. The 741 incorporates an LED. The 742 will give you a local annunciator. It'll give you like a horn, not a horn, but an annunciator, a horn at the door is what it'll give you for a local indication that the unit has been used. I don't know if the 742 has an LED. No, it does not. It's the 742, no, it does not have an LED because it has double pull, single throw wiring configuration inside of it. So when you break glass, it will then allow you to, the annunciator is what would be activated rather than an LED. The 741 gives you the same functionality with a light. 742 is the annunciator. So let's take a look at this item. Let's do a visual tour of it first. Here's our label. The installation instructions are going to be included with it, which we'll look at on the screen together in a moment. Okay, very good. Okay, so we have the business end of the unit. We have a package of break glasses. Yeah, there'd be no trouble with this breaking that glass. It's a lot heavier than it looks, that's for sure. I can't really say how much force it would take to break that, but nonetheless. There it is. Break glass to release door. We'll snap the hammer back in place. The hammer and the chain are not available replacement parts. I've had that question in the past. The break glass, however, you can purchase, and I believe it's sold in a package of 5 is how those are sold. Okay, right there. Now, let's take some dimensions of the unit itself. That's 6 3/8, about 4 1/2 or so. It's going to be obviously a very similar, triple gang box sort of mount that you're going to use for this. So typical and common material. Now, the rest of the components that are here, I don't believe I showed you the back. We're going to go over the wiring diagram in a moment as well. Okay. Now the balance of the components that are included here are going to be screws for getting everything attached. 6 of these machine screws for attaching the unit to the gang box. We'll put the material back in. There are only 3 break glasses here. I would have to assume that that's what's standard, even though a replacement pack will have more than 3. Again, I believe it's 5. Included is an instruction sheet on how to service the break glass, which is also linked to down below in this video. It basically, involves unthreading the nut that's on the outside here. That's all that, servicing really requires. Yep, that's it. Your brake glass is here, and that will come out. Takes a little bit of force to thread it on because that switch is spring-loaded and underneath the glass. So that goes back together nice. Okay, so let's switch now to the screen view where we can take a look at all of the supporting documentation. Okay, so here's the item that we are looking at. The Locknetics 740. You can view the other options as well. 740, 741, 742. Okay, so the 740. Surface mount in a standard 3-gang enclosure. So typical, sort of industry standard material that this will bolt to. Compatible with all fail-safe type electronic locking systems. An effective alternative to a standard pull box. Let's back up to this. Compatible with all fail-safe. So what's happening here is, if you recall, I said that button was under tension. So as I rotated the nut to get to the brake glass, the button came out. So what's happening is the glass is actually keeping the normally open switch in a closed position so that there's continuity through the circuit. But as soon as you break that, that's going to fail safe or open to the circuit. So it's a normally open circuit. Stainless steel standard finish, rated for 6 amps at 120 volts. So shouldn't be running much more than that through there. Clearly marked signage indicating purpose of the release. Designed for use as emergency releases of non-designated egress doors, such as in individual and partitioned laboratories, secluded testing areas, or other isolated workrooms that are purposefully provided with exit doors. So what they're saying is this is not a code-compliant means by which to exit an area. Doesn't qualify for any of that. You can have exit devices, you can have delayed egress, you can have magnetic locks, and all of that material can be configured so it's code compliant for emergency egress. This would not be permissible in any regard for that. The brake glass concept may be preferred over the pull station because it is less vulnerable to misuse or tamper actuation. Units consist of a replacement brake glass cartridge that normally holds the plunger activated when the switch is depressed. Holds the plunger activated switch depressed until the cartridge lens is broken. When the lens is broken, the plunger moves forward and alters the switch contact position. 4 replacement lens discs are provided with each assembly. Our package had only 3 that I counted. The small hammer is attached to the brake glass assembly via a mounting clip with a 12-inch chain to ensure it does not detach from the assembly. So there you go. So we have series instructions, and then there are additional instructions also that we'll be able to review. And let's go through them one at a time. There should be 4 documents. So the installation instructions, the 740 series, this is all a review of what we just discussed. Why used it? We just discussed that as well, but it goes on to say that the brake glass assembly is a preferred alternate to the conventional pull box installation, as accidental activation is all but eliminated as far as false alarms are concerned. Breaking the lens requires more of a commitment on the user's part than merely pulling the handle and leaving the scene. Where used, laboratories, testing areas, and other similar rooms that are already provided with exit doors. Fail-safe multiple door interlocks, where in the event of an equipment malfunction, incorrect usage, or wiring, someone may be trapped between doors. Okay, so this will, and that's where the 6 amp comes in, because you can, it's rated for lots of amperage, because you could be controlling multiple doors that have, magnetic locks. Features surface or mortise mounts and a standard 3-gang enclosure. I don't know of a mortise mount there, and that's because I'm not very familiar with the world of electrical components. There must be some sort of a surface mount box that would be a standard triple gang is what I'm driving at. I'm not aware of Schlage or Locknetics having any surface mount option. An effective alternative to the standard pull box. Standard finish is US 26. That's a typo. This is US 32D. That's satin stainless steel. Special finishes available. Okay. I've never heard of it, but I'm sure that with a volume they'd be able to do it. Here's your wiring diagram. A typical wiring standard break glass. That's when the that's when the unit is in its condition when you take it out of the box. When that glass is broken, that's going to switch over to this pole here. You can see how the configuration of the switch is the same for the most part. What I mean is in the 741 and the 742, when that fails, it will fail to the LED or the annunciator option. Typical wiring shown when lock voltage and break glass are different. Okay, so what they're saying is when you have a voltage of your lock, that's not going to be the same voltage as what it would take to operate the LED. I can't think of a lock that would really require that, except if you were dealing with something that was line voltage. But that doesn't make sense because this will handle up to 240 volts, I think it said. Must be something, or maybe AC. I'm grasping at straws on what that would mean, so I apologize. Dimensional properties. Now the next document, this is going to be an older set of installation instructions that came out of this. This is probably from the late 1990s, would be my guess. I don't see a year here at all. The servicing of the break glass is here in just a different fashion. I have a little clearer example. This is possibly even an older set of installation instructions. Aha. So years ago, they apparently did have a surface mount box right there. I don't know if they still offer that. Let's take a look. And I'm pulling up. This is actually a handy trip. Manufacturers, and then we're going to look for Schlage Electronics. Control F, then Schlage Electronics. And that part number, which I'm sure is quite dated, 7903, would be a standard surface mount box. 7903. Access control catalog. So the 740... Well, they don't. There's not much here on that. Yeah, they don't indicate any sort of a surface mount box available. 7903. Yeah, that doesn't come up. So I'm going to think that that's a throwback to a time when it was once available. Okay, so we'll have to skip over the idea that the manufacturer provides that surface mount box. But triple gang is obviously what you're looking at. Now, the servicing of the break glass is detailed here. This is obviously from the manufacturer, Square D, who makes the switch and the assembly. Okay, should you need to have greater detail on all this, you clearly want to just not modify anything here. Nut comes off, glass comes off. Make sure nothing else changes. And I won't read all that to you. It's all, I believe, straightforward. Who would have thunk there's a special tool for that nut? Mine came off with just, it was just only hand tight. So that wraps up all the installation instructions on the 740 series. Now there's a link here. Now I took you to the Schlage Electronics link, and that's the branding that Schlage is, or Locknetics has phased into. When you call their phone number, they still call it Locknetics, and I think they dusted off that marketing name a couple of years ago because I personally, I believe it's a highly recognizable name when it comes to access control hardware. But the name Locknetics, that manufacturer's page is here. Two different sets of information, and you can see that there are current catalogs. So let's take a look, see what they show for the 740 in the most current catalog in Schlage Electronics, or pardon me, Locknetics. Yeah, I don't see it listed here in the book. That's not unusual for it to kind of just fall off of, you know, things get moved around. But the point of showing you the Locknetics page is we have an old, what I call an archival catalog here, and then I have Schlage Locknetics catalog. Now I use the Schlage Locknetics catalog because what we get into a lot are the electromagnetic locks that are all discontinued. The 390, the 350, the 320, and the variants of all those electromagnetic locks. It's nice to be able to, a client will call and say that they have a 101 plus, a delayed egress, and it's nice to pull up the old data to determine what was the feature profile and how do you convert that to something modern. So that's why we endeavor to keep as much of this old information as we can, because we're able to convert it to something that the client can actually get their hands on. Let's wrap up this video on camera. So in conclusion, the 740, a very typical and common sort of item. You don't see them often, nor do you sell them often. And I would think that, you sell one and it's going to be installed for the life of the building. Frankly, I've never heard of one failing or fatiguing. They're obviously used only in emergency situations anyway. If you have any questions on the Schlage Electronics or Locknetics number 740, door actuator, switch, or any other Locknetics or Schlage Electronics product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.